Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And today we're at Dominican Republic Weekly, episode 35. Delta adding additional flights. New records for the month of December 2024. It is now 2025. Can the momentum keep going for the Dominican Republic? It's possible. Stay tuned for what else we have to discuss. And there's a lot. And welcome. Stop Struggling Now gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for being here. You're investing in the Dominican Republic. You are thinking of visiting, becoming a tourist, and finding out more? Well, welcome to the Dominican Republic Weekly, episode number 35, where we keep you up to date because we have tens, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people who have invested or are doing business in the Dominican Republic. So therefore, you want to stay abreast and make sure you share the videos because you never know who's out here looking for information. But without further ado, let's go over to Dominican Today. You'll see down below in the description box. If you want any of these articles, then you can get them there. You remember the Open Skies Agreement. A lot of people said, oh, flights will go down in price. Well, Delta Airlines to launch seasonal Detroit Punta Cana direct flights. You know what that means. Somewhere between January or December 15th and probably the first or second week in April. But let's see what they're talking about because they actually give a price. Can you guess the price? Wait till you see what it is. Starting May 10th. May 10th. So I am incorrect. Starting May 10th, Delta Airlines will introduce the seasonal direct flight connecting Detroit and Punta Cana. Just so everybody who may not understand Dominican Republic, tourism high season is December 15th until April 15th is what I call it. Them doing May, which is not really high season, but there's still a lot of tourists that will go, is kind of strange. But this is what Delta's doing. The service will operate every Saturday, so just once a week, 737-900 aircraft, round trip fare starting at approximately $724. I want to hear from you down below. What do you think about this $724 round trip? That's what it's starting at. We know if it's starting at $724, that means we're going to be over $800 round trip from Detroit to Punta Cana. Let me know if you think that's a bargain. And I'm not going to get too much more into this, but it's calling it an international flight. So noting the availability of free international Wi-Fi and increased premium seating. These enhancements aim to provide seamless connectivity and comfort throughout the travel experience. Delta's growing Caribbean network from Detroit, which is very interesting again, which recently saw the relaunch of direct flights to Nassau, Bahamas. The addition underscores Delta's focus on strengthening its presence in the region. Well, more airlines should be because there are more tourists coming. Now, let's get into something. Speaking of tourists, Dominican Republic celebrates record 11 million tourists. Now, again, when you guys are here, you know what we do. We have to put things in perspective. When they talk about 11 million tourists, they are talking about airfare plus cruise passengers. To give you an idea where we stand, we stood about 7.7 million passengers by air, and we were a little over 2 million, I believe 2,400 up until, 2.4 million cruise passengers. So we were already at over 10. We were around 10.1, 10.2. So what we're looking for is the numbers that come out for the month of December. Because if things go according to plan by airfare, my prediction of 8.5 to 9 million passengers will just be met on the lower end of my spectrum. It'll be around 8.5 to 8.6, depending on what happens, because the numbers could be 8.5, because 7.7 plus 700,000. You see how close we're talking about here? We don't know how many passengers by air for the month of December just yet. So we need about 750,000 or more passengers by air to land in the Dominican Republic in December 2024. I think they met that. Why do I think that? Is because hotels were booked at almost 96% or better. That is incredible. All right, let's get into this celebration, shall we? All right, it's looking good. It's looking good. Celebrates 11 million. Let's see how they're going to separate this. All right. Dominican Republic has surpassed its goal of 11 million visitors in 2024, marking a historic milestone and solidifying its status as the regional tourism leader. That is correct. In case you don't know, they are the leaders so far in Latin countries. Now, here's the numbers. Tourism accounted for nearly 20% of the nation's GDP in 2024. Remember, I keep telling you, pay attention if you're an investor, if you're a business owner there. The GDP of 20% is significant, because if there's ever a drop in tourism, that means less money coming in, and that can impact the country greatly. So the country needs to diversify and lower this down a little bit, but keep the same number of revenue coming in. Now, contributing 26,000 million and generating almost 1 million jobs. Additionally, the sector provided 130,000 million pesos in tax revenue. That is about, is that like $7 million? I mean, USD, I don't know. Anyhow, somebody will have to correct me if you can tell me what that means. Collado noted that surpassing 11 million visitors represents not only a record-breaking achievement, but also a testament to Dominican Republic's growing appeal as a global tourism destination. All right, so we don't have the breakdown on the tourist or the cruise numbers just yet. We just know they've surpassed. They got the 11 million. We just don't know the breakdown. It's fine. I think I know pretty close to breakdown. It's going to be something like, I think, 250 to 350,000 by cruise, and I think there'll be 750 to 800,000 by air, and we'll get our 8.5, 8.6, maybe even 8.7 if we have a crazy December where there's over 800,000 people. But that's all we need. But next year, 2025, we need 9.5 to 10. We need another 1 million passengers if you are an investor. That's what you want. I'm going over some history so you guys can understand exactly how things are going. This is what people don't know. They don't track. They don't check history. Average hotel occupancy was 71.1% through November 2022. All right. So when you own an Airbnb, if you decide to buy a condo hotel, this is going to be why you need to understand what you are buying. If you are buying Airbnb, hotel occupancy does not apply to you. If you're buying a condo hotel off of a hotel property. So in other words, I show up at this hotel right here, and I don't even, either I check in here and leave to go a mile away, or I'm staying here on the golf course behind this, which I don't know what this resort is. And that way, once that occurs, there is a drop off, because there are different opportunities, and everybody likes when I come down the elevator, I get out and all the amenities are right there on premises, versus I come down an elevator and I got to go a kilometer away or half a kilometer away. That is a different ball game altogether. So this is why I want you to pay attention, because we're trying to get everybody on board, understanding no matter where you invest. Don't let anybody fool you saying, here's the hotel occupancy rate, so therefore your business will do that, or your short-term rental will do that, or your long-term rental will do that. You can't base it on that unless your business is in the same premise or location. All right? So I had to add that, and I wanted you to know in 2022, it was simply 71.1%. So I'll leave an article down there if you want to go down history lane. So what happens here? In 2023, Dominican hotels occupancy rises in Q1. But look at here. Occupancy first quarter of the year reached 84.3%. All right? Just so you guys understand, that's 2024 or 2023? 2024. So that was last year. So this is Q1 now, in case people don't understand quarters. January, February, March is the first quarter that will be for 2025. This right here, first quarter, is 84%, which is great, because the number has been occupancy throughout the year for the hotels in the DR, 83% approximately. That is not the same as if you have short-term rentals. They are not 83% average for all short-term rentals. If it was, then that means a lot of people would be staying in all mostly short-term rentals. They wouldn't be staying in the hotels. You don't have enough tourism numbers to have a dual scenario just yet. I predict you need 14 million, and that's a long way to go. All right, so here we go. Here's the newest thing right now. Can you believe this? Canadians, Europeans, and Americans occupy 98% of hotels in Punta Cana, Cap Cana, and Bavaro. I want you to pay attention because we have to talk about this. Here it is. Not only, you will not believe this. I was in shock when I read this part right here. The report highlights that between just December 31st, January 1st, just those 2 days, all right, December 31st, 2024 through January 2nd, 2025, the overwhelming majority of the 44,000 hotel rooms in the area, Punta Cana and Cap Cana, can you believe they have that many rooms, excluding Airbnb accommodations, are being filled by consumer nations, visitors from Canada, the United States, and Europe. Additionally, emerging markets such as Argentina and Colombia are contributing the strong demand. So see, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is why you need to pay attention to the Dominican Republic Weekly, because we're not just talking about the information and news, but I'm trying to give you an update so you understand. If you're an investor, if you're thinking about doing something on the island, you need to know 20% of the GDP is based on tourism. That is significant. And you need to understand, if you plan on doing business there, what the pitfalls could be or what the advantages can be. And clearly, if you don't know what is going on with hotels and the difference between a hotel and a short-term rental and a long-term rental, and you plan on being in the real estate business, then you need to pay attention, because otherwise you will get hurt playing around. All right? So meet the criterias, which I'm going to actually break out for 2025. I'm going to be breaking out Eric Says rules for 2025 regarding Airbnb, because there's a lot of people lost that I feel is lost. And why? I call myself an expert, because I've been doing short-term rentals when short-term rentals wasn't even a thing. All right? I've been doing this for over 30 years. That's part of the passive income that I was able to create over all these years. And there are reasons people win and people lose when they try to do short-term rentals, because they get caught up into the hype oftentimes. Talk to all those people that bought in Palm Springs, San Bernardino County in 2022 because everybody was running down there because there was all kind of rentals going on. Now go talk to them if they even still own their properties down there. So Just keep those type of things in mind. Now, notice the countries as well. This is why it's alarming, because we're talking about Canada, the United States, and Europe. This is alarming because if there is any downturn in the economy, which the United States could have, which also affects Canada, which also affects Europe, if there's a downturn of 10 to 15% less tourists from these countries, this is significant. This would drop occupancy rates island-wide. So that's the reason why I want you guys to pay attention. There's something else you need to pay attention to. Remember all the pots and pans where people were against those tax reforms, the tax reform that Abinader was going to do? Well, this was the fallout that I was trying to tell you. You may celebrate no taxes, but now the country has to figure out where they're going to get the money from to make improvements for tourists, make improvements for Dominicans inside their own country. Where are they going to get the money from? So now the deputies approve loans and bond law exceeding 350,000 million, which again, I think that's like $5 to $6 million, which isn't a lot, but the country's not that big. But it's a lot when you have to borrow at some ridiculous rate. That's ridiculous. The Chamber of Deputies approved 2 loans and a bond issuance law totaling 378,000 million pesos to address the 2025 general state budget deficit. Okay, remember, I keep telling you, this is what all countries do. All governments, when there's a shortfall, they have to conjure up money. That means, because there's not enough tax revenue coming in, this means that people will have to deal with inflation. So it's over 60 to 1 right now. It's just a 0.25, 0.35 for the peso to the dollar, Dominican pesos to the dollar. They will have to keep doing this because there's not enough tax revenue, and you gave businesses for the tourism industry tax cuts and tax breaks, no import duties and things like this. That would have been revenue coming in the door, which is not coming in the door. You can't tax your citizens because you didn't do any tax reform. Now you're going to have to get high interest loans, and you're going to have to offer bonds. But your bonds aren't going to be worth much, so people will pay pennies, $1, 71 cents, whatever the bonds are for the Dominican Republic, and they are not going to be trustworthy. It's not like the United States that has trillions of dollars worth of business going on. This is not the same thing. Therefore, you're causing inflation on the island, and you're causing the DOP to the dollar to also increase. Next year, if they keep this pattern up, it's going to be 62 to 1. And I think it's going to be next year for sure, because they have no way to get any other monies coming in. So, with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the episode. This concludes whatever you are thinking. Let me know down below. That'd be greatly appreciated. And don't forget to share the videos. And I love you very much. And I appreciate your support over all these years. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. And I know it's hard out here. And we're trying to get you set up right. We want you to understand you've made some moves here. We have lots of people who watch this channel based on Dominican Republic. You have made moves on the island. We have people who have bought projects themselves and creating them. It's awesome to watch, awesome to see, awesome to hear. But the thing is this, just because you started doesn't mean that it's all going to end well. You have to have contingency plans. This is why I'm doing the Dominican Republic weeklies. Because what if occupancy does not increase for the short-term rental market? We need 98 to 100% occupancy for hotels. That's how we get a higher occupancy for short-term rentals. That's just for starters. Don't miss the live streams, because you can talk about anything on the live streams, and we'll be talking about Airbnb and short-term rentals because they will be under siege in 2025. And what do I mean by that? If consumers have less money to spend, that means they will not be going to short-term rentals or hotels. And with all that said, keep your head up, keep moving, and I'm out.